Hello, and welcome to Your Worst Nightmare, another RPG actual play podcast. Solotude, a journaling RPG podcast, is just me in a room, not to brag, with a journal, a solo RPG, and some damn good coffee. I play to see what happens in the story, write in my fictional journal, and you get to hang out next to me by the fire. My name's Auri, welcome. I hope you enjoy our time together. This episode is a dramatic journal entry reading for the prompts we got to in the previous episode. Some things might have changed a little bit from the decisions made in the episode, since I've had a bit of time to collect my thoughts and write stuff down. This is Solotude. We do what? In the shadows? Prompt 39. The Mind-Body Problem. February 1793. The Coronation. A most delicate and beautiful ceremony where one steps from an anonymous private existence into the public life of the unceasingly observed. A higher caste whose responsibility is to lead by moral and aesthetic example. The new world bows to no kings or queens. Instead, we nod to an elected president whose reign is by definition temporary. I give this weak Lady Liberty wanking system a maximum of 50 years. We finished a grand project at the Bonetel, a beauty pageant for all the United States, known to us now as Miss America. At first, it was going to be an all-genders welcome affair, but upon iteration, we agreed upon it being a strictly women's competition. This was Socrates' wish, since the whole ordeal was arranged to acquire a most suitable body for his head to rest upon. Women's bodies are generally capable of withstanding a tremendous amount of pain, with childbirth, menstrual pain, and having to deal with a high amount of general bullshit, often instigated by those of a male persuasion. We went through a few alternative titles for the pageant before settling upon Miss America, top ones being the Bonelympic Games, Loki's Low-Key Drag Race, Twink Twink Little Star Beauty Pageant for Slim Young Men, and just boobs. We very nearly went with boobs, but then we got some great input from our female focus group consisting of Barigaldi. She said, I quote, "What? Fuck no." Criticism which left even Socrates without retort. Where would we be without her quick wit and honesty? The glamorous night began as state winners of the preliminary contest started arriving. We had a red carpet rolled out of the Bonetel all the way to Main Street. A crowd of hundreds was gathered to see the elegance. Nearly the horses drawing the carriages were big and strong, with such silken hair that half of them could have passed for contestants themselves. Everyone was present. Blondes, brunettes, redheads, clearly intentionally bred for their impeccable aesthetics. All of the skin tones were there, from the midnight black to the palest white. These horses fucked. Oh, then the women! What excellence in both inner and outer beauty. Such sharp conversationalists with boobs to match. To my shame, I have to admit, I mostly concentrated on their bodies, since that was why the entire affair was arranged after all. I always consider women and men equal in value. Men have more meat on them, but women's meat is sometimes more tender. All humans are garbage. But in my dark dealings with Dr. Miriam Liquid, I have strived for a 49-49 split in those turned vampire, and I give a 2% for those whose gender appears too ambiguous to tell via bite. I had just welcomed to the ladies' inn as I was approached by a madam more experienced in the ways of the world. She had long curly hair. Her body was shaped like a German sausage, but had the texture of an Italian ciabatta. Her lips turned to a smile, and I saw her mouth was less a mouth, and more just the absence of flesh. Flesh. That was the word. Never had I met a woman so fleshy before. A whisper sounded from her mincemeat pie-hole.
My name is Miss Throat Fleshington, of the Georgia Fleshingtons. We have heard many things about you, Mr. Skeletonson, and I am happy to see them for myself. You are a being of flesh and bone, am I right?
I immediately grabbed her arm to stop her from speaking, but touching her felt like caressing a half-done meatloaf. I felt it tearing apart, boneless, structureless. The flesh had nothing to keep it together. I let go and looked at her in awe. She was my flesh and blood. Well, mostly flesh, I suppose. I handed her arm back to her as a gesture of friendship and good manners. She was a family member from my mother's side. We bonded over some tea, and it turns out she was my mother's sister, my aunt. There were not many flesh pile creatures left, as many more mortals favored a meat-based diet these days. There were only 3. My aunt, Throat, my grandmother, Bladder, and my sister, Jessica. They lived in rural Georgia, in a secluded mansion of raw flesh, known colloquially as the Meat Hall. We had much in common, and I brought her to see Socrates in the green room. We struck a deal, the 3 of us. Miss Fleshington would join the contest winner's body with Socrates' head, but for a price. The Philosophical Society would leave Fleshingtons and their meat hybrid creations alone. She was kind enough to include me in that too. Socrates gave it a bit of thought, a few clarifying questions, and he was happy with the deal. I sighed in relief. I was off the hook. Even if Socrates found out about my deal with Miriam Liquid, he can't lift a finger against me. Well, pretty soon he can, but he won't. The pageant itself had 2 parts, which both focused mostly on the physical capabilities of these women. First, the talent show, and then the catwalk round. What can I say? Socrates needed a body for vampire slaying, but why not have a body that slays in general? The talent show was by far the less interesting one, as it was quickly very clear who got it and who ain't got it. To be honest, most of the contestants clearly did not have it. The talents we saw were milking, sewing, a stern look, gymnastics, poetry, and juggling. All these talents might have their uses, but only one of these is truly needed. Vampire hunting is a task which requires multitasking. There are many times when you have to juggle holy water, wooden stakes, some garlic, and a leather whip, all at once. Juggler wins. Then the catwalk round. Every contestant had a house cat on leash, and they had to get the cat to move from point A to point B. Not an easy task. but one that required intelligence and dexterity. It called for elegance, as cats are famous for hating those less fashionable. But again, none braved the challenge like the juggler. As expected, Catherine Wilkinson would give her body to Socrates by the dark ritual of throat fleshington. We had a night of meat ahead of us, and after 2,000 years, Socrates would walk again. Loki Skeletonson, 239 years old. Prompt 49, The Shape of Evil, October 1810. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Here before me I have not one, but 2 entries by 2 entirely different authors. Both describe the same events, but from perspectives so different they might as well be from 2 different worlds. But what they accomplish is the revelation of mine own true nature to me. I now see I am so far along the dark forest that the straightforward pathway had been lost decades ago. The first entry I collected from the nightstand of one of my employees who witnessed me having dinner with a Bonetel customer. The second entry is my own experience of the same affair. Do not worry. The employee who witnessed my ritual has been convinced to stay asleep for the foreseeable forever. From the Diary of Mary Colton, October 30th. O Father, who art in heaven, hear my humble plea. I have no one else to confide in except you, Lord. I shall bare my heart and pray you'll be my witness, and Mr. Skeletonson's judge. For he is merely the hollow skin of a man, a creature whose monstrosity is hidden in plain sight, tempting, ridiculing the virtuous Christians astray into sin. He's a godless terror who would be blinded by merely a crucifix's shadow. I reveal his true nature here and now. Please, Lord, take the torment and its temptations away, and wash our souls in your holiness. I was tonight working the floor, collecting laundry in my wicker basket, for I was to go to the river to do the washing first thing tomorrow morn. Then a customer, the daughter of some well-to-do businessman, Lorelei, bumped into me in the hallway. She didn't stop to apologize, no, but instead had her gaze fixed at Master Skeletonson's room door, the heavy-set double door which led to the basement. She gave me no mind and continued her journey across the hall. Like an arrow shot underwater, her movement was slow, but filled with dread determination. It was as if she was being lured towards it by a silent siren's song. She looked like a little child's doll, and something, was playing with her. I continued with my chores, but kept my eyes on her as she came to a sudden halt in front of the basement doorway. The door creaked ajar, revealing nothing of the private chambers of the Bonetel masters. I'd always wondered what kind of room he kept, but the only one allowed in was Miss Goldie, who kept the master's secrets like a horse keeps its best carrots. Private. My God, it was as if Lorelei was pulled in by a great invisible force. I saw both her feet get off the ground, and the back of her head touched her toes as her limp body made nigh a perfect circle in mid-air, and she was gone. But the door was still open. Jesus Lord, I wish I'd listened to my mother as a girl. She always said my curiosity would get the best of me yet. Nosy Mary, she called me and gave me an earful. I'm sorry, Mommy. I should have listened. But I had to see. I had to know. I sneaked my way to the door, quiet like a mouse wearing slippers. It was there. The Dark One, the enemy. Oh, heavens, God, my virtue, Satan itself had crawled from the deep into our abode. There it was, sat on a velvet-cushioned chair in the master's room. Oh, God, help me. His eyes were so hungry, like a wolf who had somehow convinced the solitary lamb to walk into its den and straight into the marinade. Lorelei managed to whisper something. Set me free. Thick, foamy spit fell from the beast's mouth onto the floor where it gathered in a pool between the cobblestone cracks. The teeth were those of a beast who had to rip and tear at its prey's hide before getting to its bloody prize. It stood up and nearly had to fold over for how tall it was. It looked like it was conducting a dark symphony with its clawed hands, and Lorelei obeyed the silent music and danced ever closer to it. It made a quiet, snarling sound, almost like an animalistic question. The poor girl whimpered, "No." Then the devil sunk its claws into Lorelei's back, as if embracing her. Its front arm was burning with hellfire, so every chunk of her flesh that it ripped apart fell on the stone floor with a crack, as the blackened pieces of what used to be Lorelei crumbled into countless charred pieces. Lorelei didn't make a sound as her soul left her body, but it was clear when she went from sweet Lorelei into a bag of meat. Even then it didn't stop, or even slow down. If anything, it sped up, flinging viscera, blood, and organs all over the room. It went on forever, and I was broken from my paralysis when the devil crouched down, grabbed a piece of intestines, and started stuffing it with fingers, eyeballs, and things that had fallen out of her open belly. It seemed pleased and said to itself, "It's sausage o'clock," and started to devour it like it was funny. I gasped. It turned. We locked eyes. A moment of recognition. Oh God, I dare not even write it, but I must, for it was not the devil, it was Master. Or perhaps he had been both the entire time. I ran back to my room, where I am currently writing this down. I am wearing a crucifix and have my mother's Bible with me. I should be safe. I am reciting the Lord's Prayer so he can't approach me. I'll be gone first light of morning, far away, where he can never follow me. Wow. Is this really how I come across? I'm astonished. I remember this as a bright and fun morning. Here's how I had written the very same events. The Journal of Loki Skeletonson, October 30th. I woke up peckish tonight. I don't know, I'd be willing to bet $1,000 that the street kids were much more nutritious before the war. They don't make them like they used to, I say. Looking for breakfast, I went through the registry and noticed there was a family of 6 staying for the night. Their youngest, a Lorelei Hudson, 14 years old, should be easy prey, I thought. The parents rarely miss the youngest, since they are usually accidents anyway. I did some incantations and got her to wobble down here all on her own. Well, if the youngsters of today are not as delicious as they used to be, they sure are polite. I opened the door for her and promptly helped her inside. I thought it only polite and according to manners to have a little chat before breakfast. The hypnotic incantations I had done were probably a bit too strong for a small girl like her, for she could barely appreciate me with an answer. I asked how she found our Bonetel. She mumbled,
"Really clean."
I then asked whether she'd like to be cooked or enjoyed raw. She moaned,
"Raw."
Well, suit yourself, I thought, and got to eating. I like to give the meat a bit of flaming while cutting, so it's juicy on the inside and crisp on the outside. I tried shredding some nice bacon slices from her sides, but she made a real wiggle out of it, and like Benjamin Franklin with those French ladies, I slid in too deep. She couldn't keep her body together, for God's sakes. Bled right on my Tunisian monkey fur carpet. At that point, it became a real shit show. I tried to keep her still, but she kept flailing about, slipping in her own blood, so I probably struck my hand too hard in her belly. All the slippery bits came rolling right out. I thought, fuck it, and had an idea on how to salvage this. "Sausage o'clock!" I shouted triumphantly. "What a splendid idea, me!" I started picking up pieces here and there, just bits and boobs that had fallen over. I was humming one of my favorite tunes. "I love my darling so," as I prepped my meal. It turned out to be pretty good. But then, I was interrupted. A witness. It was one of the girls who worked for me. John, Tim, something like that. How dare she? I don't walk in on her when she's enjoying her private life. But I kept my manners, and I looked into her eyes and smiled to let her know everything was okay, and I had already eaten enough for tonight. She was safe. Then for some reason she bolted, ran into her room and locked it up. I realized I had to discipline her. If word got out that you could just come in and interrupt me while I'm living my private life, I'd never hear the end of it. So I had another sausage. Barry Goldie already has to clean my room, so might as well. I could just tell her that I stubbed my toe on the doorframe again. Blasted thing needs to be sanded down. And there ends my entry. That was an interesting experiment. I did realize something, though. I am not who I was. I'm not sure who I ever even used to be. But the girl described me. If that's how I come across, I might have a slight problem. I will not retreat into the shadows like the philosophers would wish for me to do. I will be on the forefront even more, shine even brighter, even more beautiful, for that is my purpose, whether the mortals understand it or not. I have all the money in the world, but money as a currency pales next to beauty. Loki Skeletonson, 256 years old. Thanks for listening, folks. My name is Auri Itämäki and Solotude is my personal project. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can follow Solotude on Instagram at SolotudeShow, and if there's something you liked, please drop a message or comment. Please rate and review the show, tell a friend, so people can find it a little bit easier. Additional episode music and sound effects courtesy of Epidemicsound, theme song by me. Thanks again for listening. See you next week. Bye.